Ladies and gentlemen, I'm at a loss. See, I don't want to be one of those. It's just like, and again, I want to preface my comments by saying, we don't know if that was weed in his hand. It looked like it, but we don't know. Just like we don't know if that white powdered substance, that there were lines of it in front of the lady that Odell Beckham Jr. was with. Just like we don't know that was cocaine. Folks have deduced that's what it was. It's been reported, allegedly, that's what it was. But do we know definitively? No. Here's what I need everybody to understand. And I need everybody to get this through your thick skulls. And I'm going to preface my comments by giving a warning to the listeners out there today. Do not call up here on this radio show. Do not call up here in this radio show with that same sad, pathetic argument about how weed, assuming that that's what Odell Beckham Jr. had in his possession, shouldn't even be prohibited. It ain't about what should and shouldn't exist. Because if that's the case, alcohol shouldn't exist either. And maybe leagues shouldn't be doing business with beer distributors. And all of those things are valid points. But here's the other valid point. Here's the other valid point. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter. The rules are the rules. You know what you signed up for. You either capitulate and acquiesce to them or you pay your penance. It's that simple. That's the grown-up world. I don't want to hear that argument because it's irrelevant. Not that you're wrong. It's just that it's irrelevant. And I'm not going to listen to it. You're going to hear a dial tone. I'm warning you right now. Back to Odell Beckham Jr. I personally like the kid. Even though he's not a kid, he's a young man. I'm very fond of him. I think he's a superstar talent. I think he's a nice guy. I don't think he's nearly as bad as people try to give him off as. But this is the reality. The reality is that Odell Beckham Jr. is fully aware of the rules and regulations. Odell Beckham Jr. is fully aware of the reality that he's pursuing mega dollars. He wants to get paid more than Antonio Brown, y'all. He wants to get paid more than Julio Jones, y'all. With the exception of Antonio Brown getting in trouble because he Facebook Lived the video of the Steelers in the locker room after they beat Kansas City last year in the AFC divisional playoff game. What has Antonio Brown done to tarnish his name, his legacy, his reputation? Nuno? Can't anybody help me out? Can anybody come up with anything that Antonio Brown has done? As far as I'm concerned, the only thing offensive Antonio Brown did was show up on Dancing with the Stars. And damn it, he wasn't that bad. So what's the problem? This is the reality. And I don't want to hear all of this garbage of an excuse by Odell Beckham Jr. You are the face of the New York Giants. You don't know better? I mean, I don't care if you gotta strip search somebody and make sure they don't have cell phones and camera phones on their person. You do everything you can to protect yourself in the interest of yourself and the New York Giants, period. There is no excuse to be this idiotic, this stupid, and to put yourself in this position. There is no excuse. I don't give a damn what anybody says. And we all know the NFL. We know how the NFL operates. We know how the world of business operates. And you know what it does? It doesn't look for an excuse or a reason to pay you what it's worth. It looks for a reason to exploit you, to get as much for your talents at the cheapest price imaginable. That happens throughout the world of business. Everybody knows this, which means that when you're trying to get your money, you don't do something so stupid to put yourself in a position to compromise your bottom line, period. I said this on First Take this morning, which airs on ESPN every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and I'll say this to you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are in the world of business, there are two things that they look for. It doesn't matter what profession you're in. These are the top two things that they look for. Your talents and whether or not you're trustworthy. Because if I have to pay you, not just for your years of service and what you've done, but based on projections of what you may do moving forward, I have to trust that you're going to deliver. And yes, your talent might look like it despite the injury that you sustained against San Diego early in the season. Your talent might still be there. Your speed may still be there. Those Velcro hands of yours may still be there. But what good is it if you find yourself getting suspended? What good is it if you find yourself compromising your team because your behind wasn't disciplined enough to stay out of trouble? We got an article, I believe it's by Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News today, contemplating whether or not Odell Beckham Jr. should get traded. And on one hand, you'll say, absolutely not. This kid is electrifying. On the other hand, he appears to be the kind of accident waiting to happen that if you're Dave Gettleman, the new GM, who's known for not having any affinity or an affection for players, or if you're Pat Sherman, a new coach who's all about discipline, maybe you trade Odell Beckham Jr. And here's my question, and I'm just going to throw this out there, ladies and gentlemen. Do you have faith? It's a two-part question. A, do you have faith in Odell Beckham Jr. that he can avoid trouble and be on the up and up to do all that he can to be the great football player that he is? And if your answer is no, do you trade him? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you can get 2 first-round picks for Odell Beckham Jr., would he be worth it? You might think it's sacrilegious to ask those questions. But I'm just your friendly neighborhood radio host right now. I'm not one of these insiders reporting that that's what the New York Giants may consider doing. So this is real. And if you're a New York Giants and an Odell Beckham Jr. fan, it's a question you're going to have to answer. 888-729-3776. It's 888-SAY-ESPN. Your calls and more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast. Damn it, I mean it!
3 minutes past hour. Number one, back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Number to call up is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Before I get to the calls, I want to read y'all something from the New York Daily newspaper. Article written by Pat Leonard covering this Giants situation in regards to Odell Beckham Jr., highlighting how Odell Beckham Jr. has undoubtedly damaged his market value at the worst possible time. Let me read these 3 graphs to you to sort of articulate and highlight my point about Odell Beckham Jr. This is from Pat Leonard's article in the New York Daily News. If the Giants were prepared to give Beckham a 5-year, $90 million contract at $60 million guaranteed, for example, a deal that would make him the number 1 wide receiver in annual salary at $18 million, perhaps the team is now inclined to only offer a 4-year, $60 million extension with $20 million guaranteed. So in other words, Pat Leonard is alluding to the guaranteed dollars in Odell Beckham's contract going from $60 million in guarantees to $20 million in guarantees. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a $40 million drop off. He continues. At $15 million annual salary would put Beckham only 5th among wide receivers, behind even his LSU teammate and best friend, the Browns' Jarvis Landry, $15.9 million on his franchise tag. And the reduced term and guaranteed money would be natural for a team hesitant to invest too much in such a volatile and reckless employee. So, ladies and gentlemen, they're labeling Odell Beckham Jr. volatile and reckless. He continues, or maybe the Giants will cut off negotiations altogether. knowing they can control Beckham for at least 3 more years by having him play on his 5th-year option in 2018 and applying consecutive franchise tags in 2019 and 2020. So, ladies and gentlemen, understand something. They could literally pull the plug on negotiations with Odell Beckham Jr., refuse to pay him, let him play out this 5th-year option wondering whether or not he's going to get hurt. Undoubtedly so, he won't go 100% because he'll be scared of getting hurt. Then they can franchise tag him in 2019 and then again franchise tag him in 2020, which means they could control him for the next 3 years without investing in him long term. Do y'all know what it's like to go on an NFL field with 1-year deals? Because that's basically what we're talking about here, y'all. It's a 1-year deal this upcoming season. It's a 1-year deal in 2019, and it would be a 1-year deal franchise tagged in 2020. Now, in 2019, and if he got past that 2020, he would still get his money for being franchise tagged. But it would be year to year, and there would be no long-term commitment, which means he'd not only have to stay healthy the next 3 years, he'd have to act right. All because you don't know how to act like you got some damn sense and guard and protect yourself here. Where's the advisors? Where are the hanger-ons? Where's the crew of dudes that's supposed to be watching your back, making sure that you don't put yourself in this position to get schooled like this, to get played like this? Where are they? Just a question. Just a question. Andy in New York, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. Andy, are you there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. You're live on the airwaves. What's up?
How you doing, Stephen A.? I'm doing pretty good here.
Go ahead, man.
My thing is this, and you're exactly right, Stephen A. You got to protect yourself. Why do you let somebody in your house with a cell phone so they can take pictures of you? And maybe it was a joint, maybe it wasn't. Like you said, we don't know that. But now, I'm from New York, just like you, Stephen A. If I see 4 lines in front of the girl and it's on a camera picture, and how do we know it ain't cocaine? Well, I'm pretty sure it wasn't crushed up Tylenol. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is you're 100% right. He's got to protect himself, and he should have better advisors. Where's his dad in all of this? You know?
Well, listen. The other thing is, listen. We can invite friends in our home and stuff like that, and I guess somebody could take video without you noticing or whatever. But what you got to make sure is that you're not doing anything incriminating for them to put on Instagram or to put over social media that could do damage to you. That's what you got to do. And if you're gonna do it, could you do me a favor, please? Let it be a family member. Let it be a wife or something like that. Somebody that anybody can look at and go like this. Damn, they betrayed him. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, all of us get away from the public eye, all right? Get away from the lens of the camera or the microscopic impact of a microphone or whatever the case may be. We might say or do some things that we may not want the public to know, okay? But if you're with a loved one, it's totally plausible how you could get caught out there. Some Instagram female that you barely know, supposedly, who took the video and put it out there. Really? That's the position you put yourself in? Highly irresponsible, Andy. Highly irresponsible.
America, like you said, is out to save money wherever they can. I had a spinal fusion. August 2nd, on August 10th, they gave me an MRI and dropped me on the floor and broke my back. And they don't even want to offer me $500,000. They done ruined my back for the rest of my life.
I got you. I appreciate your story. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 888-729-3776 is 888-SAY-ESPN. We'll continue with more about this Odell Beckham Jr. situation. We will get into Tiger Woods. I have not forgotten him. It's a new day when it comes to Tiger Woods. I'll definitely explain that. Plus, we talk about the brackets, always the brackets. And I'll explain to you what my issue, my problem was with Kevin Durant and something that he said. All that and more coming up as we continue right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Girl is back. Sexy, sexy. 45 minutes past hour number one back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. A couple of items that you need to know. The Dolphins, 6-10 last year on the season. They're scheduled to release Ndamukong Suh. He's owed $16 million, $26 million cap hit. They are set to release him, and they just released former Pittsburgh Steeler Lawrence Timmons. So the Dolphins are making some move, coming off a 6-10 season last year, in which they lost 3 straight to end the season, and 8 of their last 10 games to end the year. Dolphins trying to make some moves. We'll see whether that works out for them. Listen live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, which is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $620. Again, reminding you, hour number 2, I'm going to get into Tiger Woods. I'm going to get into Kevin Durant and the Warriors. I'm going to get into Richard Sherman going with the 49ers. I'm going to get into a whole bunch of stuff. And of course, the brackets, the NCAA brackets. We can't forget that. Can't forget that at all. Let's go back to the phones at 888-SAY-ESPN. Let's go to Matt. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Matt?
Hey, good afternoon, Stephen A.
Talk to me, man.
First, I just want to say I love the perspective. I love what you're doing. I love not only the sports perspective, but the cultural perspective that you offer in the short amount of time that we're able to listen to you each day.
Thank you.
The Odell stuff it's just disheartening. I think if you look at the big picture, it speaks more to what an amazing job athletes like the LeBrons of the world, the Bradys of the world, the Jeters of the world, whether things are happening or not, they are athletes and role models that I am happy and proud to have my kids look up to.
I got you.
And it's about, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's about the handling, and they do a great job. And I appreciate the time. I look forward to your comments.
Thank you. I mean, listen, of course we appreciate athletes who are incredible role models. When you look at a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., who's 25 years of age, and you think about what LeBron James, the microscope he was put under at age 17, and how he has been pretty pristine. I mean, think about it. The only issue with LeBron James in his entire illustrious career was the decision and how he handled going to Miami. That's it. Not even him going to Miami. It was how he handled going to Miami. Do you realize that's the only thing that you can say about LeBron James? Just can't say enough about him. Incredibly responsible, incredible role model. You got to tip your cap to him, man. It's something special to behold. There's no question about that. And Tom Brady, listen, people might not like some decisions he made in regards to his personal life. That's none of our business. None of our business. As far as I'm concerned, he's one of the luckiest men alive. Gisele Bündchen, I mean, there's no disrespect to anybody, Bridget Monahan, anybody else. I mean, hey, there are a lot of people that would have made the same decision. For better or worse, they'd have made the same decision. He didn't break any laws. That's his personal business, his personal situation. It's none of our business. And he showed up on a week in, week out basis and played like a Hall of Famer. And remember what I told y'all weeks ago about minding your business? Tiger Woods, maybe if we weren't in his business so much, he wouldn't have tried to force himself to play when he was hurt. He would have healed a lot faster, and the game of golf wouldn't have suffered over the last few years because of it. But that's just me. 888-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Jordan in Minneapolis. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jordan?
Hi there, Stephen A. I was calling in to see, when is Tom Thibodeau going to be on the hot seat? Just because if you look at it, Stephen A., he's constructed an NBA team to win 10 years ago, not currently.
The Minnesota Timberwolves are 39-29. If the playoffs were to begin today, he'd be in it. In his second season coaching the Minnesota Timberwolves. With all due respect, this is a very ignorant call. You might not like what he's doing in your world and in your taste, and that's fine. But to act like this is a man that should be on the hot seat when his team is 10 games above 500, Jimmy Butler is gone, and he still would be in position to be in the playoffs. What are you talking about, the hot seat? What hot seat should he be on?
Well, realistically, the Timberwolves are around 2 games out of not being in the playoffs.
But they're right. If the playoffs were to end the day, where would they be?
They would be in the playoffs.
They would be the 5th seed. They would be the 5th seed. And you're talking about a man that his team should be the 5th seed. And you're talking about how this guy should be on the hot seat. Have you lost your mind?
I'm more of the thought process of they're winning in spite of.
Well, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's a very ignorant position to put in. And by the way, these same Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2004-2005 season. That's 13 years. And your behind is sitting here talking about how Tom Thibodeau, who's about to take him to the playoffs, should be on the hot seat. It's a highly ignorant call on your part. Just ignorant. Chris in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I spoke to you a little while back about the nonsense with Jerry Reese, but I got this stuff with OBJ. I just don't understand it, okay? Anybody that wants to get rid of this guy is not a Giant fan. What did he do, okay? He hasn't done anything that would require even thinking about getting rid of probably the best guy that ever played behind Lawrence Taylor. He didn't beat his boy with a stick. He didn't punch his girl in the face. He didn't do anything, okay? This is the NFL. He hangs with rock stars and rappers. I get it. He hangs with people that have a lot of money. Is he supposed to get up and run away because there's presence of drugs? They didn't see anything from that 2.5 second video.
Well, let me ask you a question. Was it smart for him to put himself in that situation if he's trying to get his money?
Absolutely not. And I think that's
Hold on. So what I'm saying to you is I'm getting on him, not because he committed a crime. I'm getting on him because he's done this in the midst of trying to get his money. That's just not smart.
I understand it was a bad look, but listen, if the Giants are worried, they're worldwide. I would have had a guy knocking on that door 10 minutes later asking him to pee in the cup. If you're worried, then test them. If not, pump the brakes.
That's a good point, Chris. That is a good point. I would be like, to test you right now. I would do that. That would make sense to me, Chris. I like that call. Chris, you make a very, very valid point. I'll give you that, Chris. Thanks a lot for the call. Randy in the Bronx, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Randy, go ahead.
Yeah, Stephen A., how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. You only got a minute. Go ahead.
All right, well, I probably won't take up the whole minute. I just got to ask you, do you have to say something stupid 5 times every day with nothing to back it up?
Let me ask you a question. When have I said stuff with nothing to back it up? Because this is laughable.
Today. You're going to let me answer?
Tell me.
Today.
Go ahead. Tell me when.
Today, when you said the NCAA had an out for Virginia, do you have any sense?
Hold on, wait. Time out. That is asinine. What I said was, you're the number 1 team in the South. You're the number 1 team in the nation. And before you get to the Sweet 16, or rather when you get to the Sweet 16, you'd be going up against Arizona or Kentucky in all likelihood. It was a tongue-in-cheek comment because when you're the number 1 team in the nation, you shouldn't have to go up against Kentucky or Arizona. Are you refuting that a number 1 team in the nation should have to go against one of those 2 programs that early?
Well, what, should they baby him the whole time?
Goodbye. You said I said something that couldn't back it up. I just backed it up and you answered the question with your silly self. Call back up here when you're ready to debate with some sensible argument and I might listen to you. Until then, I gotta go to break. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Tiger Woods, the Warriors, more NFL bracketology coming up in hour number 2 with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
We saw what transpired last night. We saw what happened. We saw what time it was. No matter what you saw from the Toronto Raptors, it's still LeBron James' show when all is said and done. You can couch it any way you want. You can couch it any way you like. There is no way on earth to get around it. LeBron James, the best player in the world, 35 points, 17 rebounds, 17 assists, not a single turnover. Not one. Whereas DeMar DeRozan with his 21 points, bottom line is when it really, really counted, he was nowhere to be found. And so this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference to me is a matter of who can you find that can beat LeBron, not the Cavaliers, but LeBron in a best 4 out of 7. My answer is nobody. It's just that simple to me. And as a result, the suspense goes right out the window because of that reality that is inescapable. When it comes to the Eastern Conference, that's what we have. We've got a team in Boston. Kyrie's got his knees needing to be looked at. He's not 100%. Even though they got 8 players averaging 10 points or better, and they got 2 in Baines and Greg Monroe who can come off the bench and give you something, and that means they could go 10 deep. The fact of the matter is your star is Kyrie. He ain't 100%. Gordon Hayward's been out all year long because of that ugly injury he had in the opening game of the season in Cleveland, in which I was there, just 20 feet away. Then you've got Toronto, who's been playing lights out to the point where Dwayne Casey is a top 2 candidate for Coach of the Year honors. But DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry are the 2 individuals they need to rely most upon because they stir the cup. And even though they shot better than 50%, they couldn't stop Cleveland from shooting better than 60%, forcing Kyle Lowry to say it was porous defense. This is what we are. Is this what we were tonight? And it's unacceptable. But it seems normal when they go against LeBron. Because it's not just that DeRozan is the star. It's that he basically plays the same position in the same role as LeBron James. It's not like it's Steph Curry doing his thing for Golden State, but LeBron is in Cleveland. Or Russell Westbrook is doing his own thing at OKC, but LeBron is in Cleveland. This is a guy in DeMar DeRozan that basically plays the same position. So he's called upon to guard LeBron a lot of times, and more importantly, LeBron will guard him. And somehow, some way, he never appears to be the same player in the postseason that he is during the regular season. Which to me spells doom for Toronto. Don't get me started with Washington, who desperately needs John Wall back. And they lost to the San Antonio Spurs last night. Don't get me started with that. So it is what it is. Now, you might look at it and you might say, this is a bad sign, like my producer Jonathan Winthrow. This is a bad sign because look at how great Cleveland had to play, and they still came down to the wire against Toronto. Whatever. Whatever needs to get done seems to get done whenever Cleveland's going up against Toronto. Because Cleveland and LeBron James specifically is Toronto's kryptonite. No way around it. No way around it. Which is why we're looking at the West in terms of Golden State and Houston, because we see 2 teams that one that would definitely beat Cleveland, the other in Houston that could potentially beat Cleveland. And we're interested and we're intrigued. But there's none of that going on in the East. To be quite honest with you, the intrigue is everywhere else. What's Philly going to look like? How about Oladipo in Indiana? What are they going to look like? What about Miami? D-Wade is hurt supposedly, but he's really rested right now. He'll be ready come postseason time. What about them? That's how we're really looking at these other teams. That's the thrill and the suspense that you really get from the Eastern Conference. West is an entirely different story. And the West is interested for a multitude of reasons. Number one, the 4 players that are suddenly and conveniently hurt. Even though Steph Curry is purportedly set to come back this Friday, tonight. You got Houston looking the way that they look. You got OKC that can't be ignored because of their big 3. And then, of course, you have the San Antonio Spurs. I haven't forgotten Portland. They're the number 3 seed in the West. I've forgotten them. But we have forgotten about the San Antonio Spurs just a little bit. And perhaps right now we should be remembering them as we speak. Because according to our own Adrian Wojnarowski, the San Antonio Spurs had a players-only meeting just a couple of nights ago with Spurs players imploring all NBA forward Kawhi Leonard to return to the lineup and help the team in its push for the playoffs. According to Wojnarowski, Spurs guard Tony Parker, a 4-time NBA champion, quarterbacked the meeting after the team's victory over Minnesota on Saturday night. The conversation was described as tense and emotional at times. Several teammates spoke up, expressing frustration and confusion over a growing divide that has created significant tension between Leonard and the Spurs. Leonard, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, was resolute in his response, insisting that he had good reasons for sitting out all but 9 games with a white quadriceps injury this season. He's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year and first-team All-NBA player. as well as the 2014 NBA Finals MVP. He is eligible for a $200 million contract extension this summer and free agency in 2019. Leonard purportedly has impressed his coaches and teammates in 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 workouts, and there had been a belief his rehabilitation was cycling towards a return to the floor. Leonard had targeted games in the past week only to decide he wasn't ready to return, league sources said. With the Spurs having 11 games left, holding the 6th spot in the Western Conference playoff race, having won 5 straight, they're saying, Kawhi, what's up? Let's go. And then we heard this response from Manu Ginobili. He is not coming back. For me, he's not coming back because it's not helping to think Leonard is returning. We fell for it a week ago. Again, I guess you guys made us fall for it. But we have to think that he's not coming back, that we are who we are, and that we got to fight without him. That shouldn't be changing, at least until he's ready for the jump ball. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what you got to read between these lines. They saw him in 3-on-3s. They saw him in 4-on-4s. They heard the reports. The reports coincided with what they were seeing with him on the basketball court. So if after a victory, you feel the need to hold a players-only meeting in which you're literally getting emotional and tense because you're telling him you need him back and he's saying, no, he's not ready, that means the team believes he's ready. The players believe he's ready. And Kawhi is saying, y'all could kick rocks. I'm not. And I'm not going back on the floor until I am. This is getting deep. Because at some point in time, here's the legitimate question about Kawhi. Is it possible that in all of this, he either A, is pushing himself out of San Antonio, or B, getting in the way of his own money in the process? It's a legitimate question. It requires an answer. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call. That's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
For those of you who may have missed it, Jason Pierre-Paul, JPP, star defensive lineman for the New York Giants, who almost blew off his entire hand on 4th of July playing with not firecrackers, but fireworks, essentially. Dave Gettleman, the new GM, is doing his thing. He moved Jason Pierre-Paul to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, shipped JPP and the Giants' 2018 4th-round pick, which is 102 overall, second of the 4th round to the Bucs in a major deal yesterday. Or actually today, I'm sorry. Essentially, the Bucs GM, Jason Licht, he sent Tampa's 3rd-round pick, 69th overall, which is the 5th pick of the 3rd round, and the 4th-round pick, 108th overall, in a deal. So essentially the Giants get the 69th pick, the 108th pick for JPP, and a 4th-round pick. Trade moves JPP's cap hit of at least $17.5 million per year for the next 3 seasons, and is at least partially motivated by new defensive coordinator Jason Betcher's new 3-4 scheme, and perhaps also by Pierre-Paul's underperformance last season. He was battling injuries. He's 29 years of age. He hasn't been on the line with Olivier Vernon, for a while. We all know this. And so because of it, hey, it is what it is. I like the move by Gettleman personally. I really, really do. And the reason why I like the move more than anything else is because, listen, the Giants didn't have much of a pass rush last year to begin with. You want to get additional picks? You're doing that. Okay? Get them in. Who knows what they may do. Right now, to me, it's silly to think that the Giants would do anything other than take Saquon Barkley or a premier quarterback. Sam Darnold looked good in this pro day yesterday, no question about it. But in the same breath, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure about any of these quarterbacks because nobody's giving me a reason to be sure. Nobody has really stood out head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of, what is it? Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen out of Wyoming, Baker Mayfield. I know people who've got Baker Mayfield as the number one prospect at the quarterback spot, and I can't knock them for that. Take into consideration the fact that Baker Mayfield has thrown for over 5,000 yards each of the last 2 seasons. He's got 83 touchdowns and 14 interceptions the last 2 years. 83 touchdowns and 14 interceptions the last 2 years. How can I ignore that? How can I ignore that? Don't know if I can. Don't know if there's any way I can pull that off. So I'm just of the mindset that that's how we have to look at this. This man, how much did you believe in JPP? And was he worth that cap hit? I don't think so. I don't have a problem with Gettleman's move at all. I think it was a smart move. And Tampa has been in the market for a defensive lineman every chance they've had. They've been starving for one. So you get an additional pick. We'll see what it pans out, what it materializes into. But I don't have a problem with what Gettleman and the Giants are doing here. Here's my problem for the New York Giants. What if the Browns take Saquon Barkley? What you gonna do? Because you see, if you draft Sam Darnold, he looks like he's ready to play now. He's not gonna want to wait for 2 to 3 years for Eli Manning. Josh Allen might do it, but he's gonna be a headache verbally because he speaks his mind. Baker Mayfield has the potential to be box office. He's an enigmatic figure. He's a wild card. And that's just what he does. So I got to look at him and I got to say, hey, now I just don't know. And if I'm the New York Giants, I'm praying that I can grab Saquon Barkley at number 2. Because if I don't grab him, who am I going to grab? Because which one of those guys is going to want to wait for Eli to step away from the game in 2 to 3 years? I'm just wondering. These are legitimate questions. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Mixon in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Mixon.
Hey, Steve, what's going on?
I'm all right. Talk to me.
All right. So, since there's all speculation about this draft, can I
Mixon, you have to call back. Your signal is disastrous. You got to call back when you get a clearer signal, my man. I'm sorry. Let's go to Jay in Long Island. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on?
Hey, Stephen A. Always good.
Thank you.
I want to talk about LeBron and his Cavs. I'm looking at the East, man. I said it from the beginning of the year. Like, I don't know why people are making this drama show like this, some competition in the East. There's no superstars in the Eastern Conference. This is going to be another cakewalk. I don't even understand why LeBron would leave Cleveland because the East is his for the next 5 years. Like
LeBron?
I don't know why he would want to leave
Hold
Cleveland.
on. I disagree with you there. I think Gordon Hayward comes back and he's healthy. I think Boston's the team of the future in the Eastern Conference.
I think they have potential. I'm not knocking Boston. I think they have potential, but I have to see it to believe it. So I'm not going to just throw them to the side and say, well, it might not ever happen. But I'm saying is the way LeBron is playing, the way his teams are, his teams are set up. LeBron is set up for a playoff run. And I don't see – and Boston has some rough riders that could possibly – but without Gordon Hayward, with a shaky Kyrie Irving, like I said, this year, next year, maybe Gordon Hayward got to get back into shape. I don't see anybody in the East in the next couple of years, competing with LeBron. So I don't know why he would leave.
Well, listen. First of all, he'd leave if he's trying to win a championship and he knows that there's no chance with the team that he has. That's number one. Number two, I'm not so sure the East is a lock for him after this year. I'm telling you that right now. I don't see it the way that you see it. I think that they can win it. They should win the East this year. I still believe. But after this year, I don't see that. I think Boston is pretty close to having arrived. And I would not underestimate the Boston Celtics by any stretch of the imagination. I think for the future, they are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference.
Can I ask you also about the OKC? Because people keep saying, I know you said it, and I disagree. Why do people keep saying a big three? OKC is not a big three. Like, it's really a huge one. Paul George is no scrub, so I'll give him a 2. Let's say
is Paul George a star? Is Paul George a star? I'm not talking superstar. I'm not talking about superstar. Is he a star?
Yeah, he's a star.
All right, is Carmelo Anthony? I'm not saying he's a superstar, but is Carmelo Anthony a star? Can he average 20, 25 a game?
Nah. Like, if you
Carmelo can't average 20 to 25 a game?
No, not at this point in his career. Like, honestly,
yes,
if you look at him, his knees is shot. His knees are like, he can give me like 1 or 2. Like, he reminds me of like let's say like he's like Clyde Drexler when he was with Houston Rockets. Like, he might give you 1 game or 2 games, but Carmelo Anthony, defense, he's a liability. The offense comes, he's not like, his legs can't hold up to the point where he can guarantee 20 points a night in a playoff series. Like,
I think he can. I think in a playoff series he can, because you get breaks. You don't have back-to-backs, and it's a best 4-7. I definitely think he can average 20 a game, but that's still not good enough, and it hasn't been good enough, which is why he's never played in an NBA Finals. But I get you. I got to run though, Jay. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Josh in Charleston. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Josh.
Stephen A., what's up, buddy?
Talk to
Listen, going to Dave Gettleman, this is exactly what he did in Carolina. He went in there and he gutted that franchise of key players that had been there a while. You know, he got rid of John Beeson in the trade. He let Steve Smith go, Josh Norman. The list goes on. And then he went in the draft and built the Panthers team that they currently have, you know, with the exception of Cam and Luke Kuechly, who came in under the current GM and his former stint, Marty Hurney. But Gettleman is not afraid to let these big names walk. And that was one thing that the Panthers needed, because the Panthers were operated for so many years like a family business. I mean, they were putting up statues of people and Jake Delhomme had a 5-turnover game in the playoffs against Arizona, and then they signed him to a contract extension in the offseason. And so Gettleman is not afraid to make unpopular moves.
Well, we know he's not afraid to make unpopular moves. That's no secret, sir. The question is, what moves is he going to make, and is it going to be the right ones? Like, for example, I mean, he was on the clock when they let go of Josh Norman. They didn't have a backup plan. You had dudes starting for Carolina one week, and they were cut the next week because they were giving up 300 yards to Julio Jones. We got to keep that in mind as well. Sometimes that very ego, how forceful you are, how committed you are just to doing things your way instead of the right way, sometimes that could cost you. Let's not forget that.
I do think Giants fans should take some solace in knowing that, listen, the Panthers have been a pretty steady and reliable team the last couple of years while Gettleman was at the helm. And listen, they may not have had some of the bigger names in key positions, but man, he kind of plugs guys in, and he'll pick the veterans off the free agency for a year or two and at least make them competitive, which is far from what the Giants were last year.
Got you. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, I know I've had enough of winter and can't wait for spring to arrive. Well, luckily, the people at 100 Flowers seem to feel the same way. That's why the first tulips of spring for 1-800-Flowers.com are finally here. Right now, the 1-800-Flowers is giving our listeners an exclusive 30 for 30 offer. 30 assorted tulips for just $30. These assorted tulips are perfect for surprising loved ones for Easter, spring birthdays, or even just because. To order 30 stunning assorted tulips for only $30, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code SAS. Order today and save at 1-800-Flowers.com, code SAS. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show on the NFL Draft, on the greatness of LeBron James, on the powers that be within the NBA as the playoffs rapidly approach, are just some of the things we're talking about, but not all. Stick around. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Mixon in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. Is your line clear now, sir?
Yes, it is, sir. How are you?
Go ahead.
All right. Being that this draft is all speculation, nobody knows anything as of right now. Can I throw 2 different scenarios at you?
Go ahead.
All right. 1, the Browns aren't in love with any of these quarterbacks, so they take Saquon Barkley at 1. and they trade their fourth pick to the Eagles for Nick Foles, with the understanding that they know Wentz is going to be healthy. Nobody's talked about that. Or if the three top quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, either Denver or the Bills trading their picks to the Eagles for Nick Foles.
Where do you think Nick Foles should go?
I would say he should go to a team that's ready to win, because he's proven he can do it at the biggest stage.
Who do you think should want Nick Foles more than anybody else?
I would say Denver.
They got Case Keenum, so that's out of the question. I think about Houston, Deshaun Watson. That's his show, and I expect he'll step back healthy, ready to go. Indianapolis, look, they haven't given up on Andrew Luck. They're swearing he's healthy, etc. I think the nice place for him to go would have been Buffalo, personally, but they chose to go the route of Tyrod Taylor. I don't know what that was about. So it's hard to gauge where he should go right now. I hear what you're saying. I got it. I just don't know what to take from it. I really, really don't.
It just worries me, because if they do, God forbid the Eagles land this guy Chubb or one of these other linemen, it's just going to make that team that much better. And me being a Giants fan, it worries me.
Got it. I appreciate the call. Makes sense to me. Thank you for the call. Let's move on. Let's go to Ellis in Louisville. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think about the Browns getting Saquon Barkley at 1 and then getting Lamar Jackson at 4 and doing something different that they don't, still getting a prototypical quarterback, because that'll be box office. And I think, who wouldn't want to watch that in the backfield? I think they'll win like that.
So you're saying what, the Browns should grab Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, number 1, and then get Lamar Jackson at 4, do something different than they normally do, getting these prototypical quarterbacks that don't work out for them, and get box office in the backfield with both of those guys.
Now, you know what? Listen, Lamar Jackson isn't even ranked 5th amongst the quarterbacks. The Browns have the 1st and the 4th overall pick. So what are you suggesting, that they take Lamar Jackson with the 4th overall pick?
Yep, I think they should.
So you'll take Lamar Jackson over Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, or Josh Allen?
Yeah, he's going to make plays. He's gonna move the ball without a doubt. He's got a howitzer for an arm.
You know what the part that I get where you're coming from, but you know what I don't like about what you're saying? Listen,
what's that?
Lamar Jackson can make plays with his feet. He's fantastic, can't be underestimated. Fair enough. But what I don't like about what you're saying is this. There's a lot of speed in the NFL. The kind of plays that you can make with your legs on a collegiate level, you going up against some men here who have a lot of speed in the National Football League. And you got to be able to throw that football, man. And you got to be able to fling it with some degree of accuracy. You can't just sit up there and think you're going to make head waves by just running the football from the quarterback spot. I don't think it works that way.
No, remember, he can throw pretty good. He's a better thrower than Vic was. He's just as fast as Vic. Remember what Vic did running.
I got you. But I'm just telling you right now, the game has changed significantly. There's more speed in the National Football League, and it requires more accuracy. If you can throw the ball with a degree of accuracy and people have a reason to fear your arm, then that would be different. But if they don't feel they have a reason to fear your arm because you ain't the most accurate dude in the world, and they key in on you in terms of running the football, you can get neutralized on the National Football League level. That's all I'm saying, but I get your point, and I appreciate the call. 888-SAY-ESPN, it's 888-729-3776. We'll continue talking about the NFL draft and what moves need to be made. Saquon Barkley, worth the number 1 overall pick? What should the Browns do? What should both New York teams do? What should the Rams do, by the way, with Ndamukong Suh? That's just some of the things we should consider. And then some. Plus, the NBA playoff picture is unfolding before our very eyes. Lots of stuff to get into, and we will continue live right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
46 minutes past hour number 1 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Wait till you see what subject I get into beginning hour number 2. I'll allude to that in just a few minutes. But until then, let me get back to the calls at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Let's go to Kenny in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Kenny.
Hey, Steven. How's it going?
I'm all right. Talk to me.
Hey, so I got a 76ers hypothetical. I know there's 10 games left, but if the playoffs started today, we'd have home court against the Pacers. Now, I think we can get past them. I think it'll be a good series.
It'll be a good series. They could beat you, though. Make no mistake, they could beat you.
Absolutely. I think they could, but I think it's going to be a good one. But if we do get past them, we play the Raptors. Do you think that we could give them a legitimate series?
You could give them a legitimate series, but you'd lose. You'd lose because they've got the big boys to go up against Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons would be special and would need to be special. But again, his perimeter shooting is a huge question mark. His free throw shooting is highly questionable because right now he's only shooting like 57% for the free throw line. And because of that reality, he would have to attack the basket to be effective. And keep in mind that they got Valanciunas and Serge Ibaka, just to mention a few, in the interior. So it would be problematic for the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe that Toronto would take you out in 5.
All right. I think it's going to be a fun series. We haven't been back to the playoffs since 2012, so Philadelphia sports fans are ready for it.
Yeah, you got a bright future. No question about that. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Kentrell in Atlanta. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, man. Kentrell, are you there? All right, let's go to Ron in Manhattan. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Ron.
Hey, good afternoon, Stephen A. How you doing, my man?
I'm all right. Talk to me.
All right, listen. I don't want McShay's opinion. I don't want Mortimer's opinion. I don't want Kuiper's opinion. I don't want anyone's opinion but yours. What do you really think about Lamar Jackson? Because you never talk much about him. I heard the previous caller, and I think he can do a little bit more than just win a game with his feet. People who've actually played the position say he's the best quarterback in the draft, but he gets no love.
I like Lamar Jackson a lot. There's a reason he won the Heisman Trophy, okay? And I'm very fond of him, and I think that he's a playmaker. He's somebody that has big-time potential and tremendous upside. But I do have questions about his pocket passing ability, which is what I think is required in order for you to be successful as a quarterback in the National Football League. He's never completed 60% of his passes in his career. Now, in fairness to him, he's improved in that category every single year. His first year as a freshman, 54.7% of completions. His second year, 56.2%. Last season, 59.1%, okay? The guy has thrown 12, 30, and 27 touchdowns, 69 touchdowns, 27 interceptions overall. But this year, for Louisville, I had a problem watching them play throughout their games this year. When I look at them and I look at their resume, I have legitimate questions about them. And I wasn't overly impressed with what I saw from them this year, and I can't deny that. Because I look at some of their losses. I mean, you lost to North Carolina State. You lost to Boston College, even though he dropped 42 in that game. All right. You lost to Clemson. You got annihilated 47-21. That was week 3 of the season. Clemson was ranked 3rd in the nation. You lost in a what is it? The Tax Slayer Bowl. I think that's what it was. You know, when you lost to Mississippi State. It's not entirely his fault. I'm just saying that when they look at me and they tell me that this guy has problems with accuracy, throwing the football, that's something that I have to pay attention to. I wouldn't drop him that low. I like Lamar Jackson, but I can't ignore what I've seen.
Well, how come no one makes the accuracy a problem for the Josh Allen kid?
Well,
it's okay for him to be inaccurate.
Well, they say that his upside is tremendous because he's shown the ability to throw the football better, whereas Lamar Jackson has shown the ability to run the football more effectively. I guess it depends on what your preference is. In today's NFL, I would say to you that I would put him and Lamar Jackson on the same level because Lamar Jackson can make plays with his feet as well. But what they're saying is that Josh Allen has shown more of an ability to be a passer. I've never seen Josh Allen play, bro. I've never seen him play. So I have no clue. But I'm telling you what they're saying.
All right, so for me, on their face, those statements for me are very stereotypical and borderline racist, coming from those aficionados who say the same thing about every African-American quarterback.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You got to be bigger than that, bro. it can't be all about racism when you see an abundance of black quarterbacks that have been playing in the National Football League. You can't do that. You can't sit up there and say, how come we got to be bigger than that? We can't be going with borderline racist and all of this other stuff when a guy's had an opportunity, he's got a resume, and they're going by what they see on film or what they've seen the guy play. It's not like they're saying something where they're hiding the information from us. They're challenging you and others to go and see Josh Allen. So here's my question to you, Ron. Have you seen Josh Allen at Wyoming play?
Not at all.
All right. So let me ask you this question. How fair is that? How fair is it to accuse them of borderline racism and all of that other stuff when you just acknowledge publicly you have not seen Josh Allen at all? Now, if you watch the tape of Josh Allen and you saw Josh Allen and then you saw Lamar Jackson and you make that proclamation, whether we agree or disagree, at least it's based on evidence. You don't even have any evidence on Josh Allen. So what gives you the right to say that?
Other than the highlights, I haven't seen him in a game situation. But what I'm saying is people are also making assumptions about Jackson.
They've seen him. But they've seen him. Wait a minute. No, you're wrong. Because we've all seen Lamar Jackson. We've seen Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson has been showcased over the last 2 years. He won the damn Heisman. So we've seen him. So if you're going to make a proclamation like that, at least see Josh Allen first. And then come up here and accuse football aficionados of having some kind of prejudice. You can't do that's not fair. See, this is where I got to reel folks in and be like, look, man, you got to be bigger than that, bro. I'm not getting on you overall because I understand from an historical perspective that your perspective leans on something foundational, and I can respect that. But you throw all of that out the window the second you admit it that you haven't seen Josh Allen. If you haven't seen Josh Allen, then how come those who have seen them both can't come up with an assessment when that's their job? That's not right, Ron.
I hear you, but honestly, how many of those guys are out there going into big West Conference, whatever conference, playing games and watching Allen?
You're wrong. You're wrong. That's their job. Of course they've seen them. Of course they've seen them. That's their job. I don't have to see them. I'm hosting a radio and a television show. But a Mel Kiper and a Todd McShay and all the football aficionados, you damn right they've seen those guys. They absolutely have seen them, Ron.
I hope they have, my brother. But listen, right, we don't get off the football.
No, I'm not listening. Have a nice day. You can't do that to people. That's where we dilute our argument as a people. You have not seen Josh Allen at all. But just because they're not elevating Lamar Jackson above him, you're going to bring up race? So when a real race issue comes into play, we can't even address it because they point to your emotional outburst like that. Come on. Hour number 2 up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.